Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's match preview of Southampton against West Ham United. Gonzo, kick us off as always, please. What's your thoughts on the Saints?
They're struggling. There's no doubt about it, and it's a shame. I think not just a shame for Southampton, but I think it's a shame for football because they have been a really well-run club for many years. I think they've provided the model of what you should be doing if you don't have the money. Get your house in order. Particularly their stadium relocation was a success. Of course, it seems like a long time ago now, but I still look at it as a new stadium. I think the way that they buy players, less so how they sell players, the way they buy players, the way they recruit, the way their scouting is done, just the way that they generally run the club, the academy is very, very impressive, not just from the outside. I know people who have had kids that have gone to play with the academy, and everyone's got a really good thing to say. Everyone's got really good things to say about that club. So it's run really, really well. And I think what you want is when you see a club run that well and that professionally, you want it to be able to succeed. You want it to be able to thrive, because it does give hope to anybody like a Brentford, let's say, who are also going to run their club well, that actually they can compete with this ridiculous, obscene amounts of money that are now in the professional game. And I think it's worked for them for so long. But I do look at them. So a few years ago, they lost the guy that really put all this stuff into place. Their owner, he passed away. His daughter took over for a little bit. Then there was a sale, and I think they've really sort of lost the real desire to carry on with that project. I think, as I certainly have felt the last few years, it's been more about asset stripping than anything else. And I think what's happened is their recruitment has not matched what it was in the previous years. I think they get more wrong than they used to. They almost felt that they could go and sell big players for big money and they would get nothing wrong. I think now the players that they bring in, not all of them, the centre-back is good, for instance, but some of them they bring in are just not of that standard. I just don't think they're as slick as they used to be.
Well, I disagree a bit, actually, because I think they're a club with a long-term project, but a short-term problem, which obviously the manager, will get on to him in a second. But they've had a bit of a revamp. Obviously, Sport Republic, is that their name? Bought them in January, and then this summer, their first summer transfer window. And I was very impressed by their summer transfer business, actually. I looked at it and I thought, okay, I can see what they're doing here. I really like what they're doing here. And like you said, they just acknowledge the fact that they don't have the money to compete with the big boys. So how do we bridge the gap between a club like Southampton and the sort of top six of the Premier League? How do we do that? Well, we have to buy the players they're going to buy before they buy them, essentially. We've got to buy them when they're 20, and then when they're 23, 24, and they come knocking, we sell them for an inflated price, and we go again. And hopefully, eventually, we'll no longer have to sell them to those bigger clubs. So I think the plan that they've got, in principle, is quite a good one. The transfer strategy in the summer, very impressive, but the problem is, A, they didn't get the striker that they needed. B, it's almost too much in one go, I think. And I think this is the problems they're having this season, which is just too many inexperienced players coming in at the right time. And you have to have that balance. It's difficult to get the balance of sort of a young team, which means inexperienced, and a few experienced players in there to help them out a little bit. You know, they've got the youngest squad in the Premier League this season so far, and it's showing. Also, I guess there's big questions over the manager at the minute, but they've also got big problems now with Chelsea trying to poach Shields from them. They got him from Manchester City in the summer. He's overseen their summer recruitment. They gave him a promotion from Manchester City. He was head of academy recruitment. Took him in to give him head of recruitment at Southampton. So that's a promotion for him personally. Done really well this summer. And now Chelsea want him, and he looks like he's off to Stamford Bridge. He's only been there 6 months, and he's away. So now Southampton are going to have to put him on gardening leave for months and months to surpass the January transfer window, so that they can try and conduct their business in the next window without him going to Stamford Bridge with everything that he's got. And it's now upset Manchester City, because now Man City see it as one of our top staff members on their way to Chelsea, just via Southampton. I think they were okay with him going to Southampton, just like they were okay with us getting Rob Newman. Go to West, you go to West Ham. You're going to be head of recruitment. Fantastic. Good luck to you, Rob. Good luck to you, Joe. Off you go. Now one of them's away to hang on a minute. Now this is different. If Chelsea had come knocking, we'd have told them to do one. Now he looks like he's off to Stamford Bridge. And it's a huge problem for Southampton because they haven't built their whole club structure around it, but they've certainly trusted him a lot and said, do what you want. Right, fantastic. So they now got a short-term problem with him and a short-term problem with the manager because he ain't getting the results, but the long-term project. And I guess they've got to, I speak about the imbalance of experience and inexperience in the playing squad. Now they've got to try and balance it as to, well, what do we do? Do we stick to the long-term vision and do what we're doing? Or do we go short-term, get rid of the manager, allow Shields to go and try and replace both, if you like, and stick to what we're trying to do? It's a very difficult time for Southampton Football Club, I think. What do you make of Ralph Hasenhüttl at the minute then? Because they're in shocking form, and it goes back to last season as well. A lot of Southampton fans are unhappy with him. Not great at football, not scoring goals, not keeping clean sheets. It's a very bad combination. When you can't keep a clean sheet and you can't score goals, that's trouble.
Well, yeah, they can see lots of goals. Well, he's got Alan Pardew-itis. Basically, that's what he has, and he's always had it. He's incredibly streaky. I'd have to go and find the videos, but when there was a point when we had a dip last season, when you looked at the comments on the video, and Hasenhüttl was being hailed as a tactical genius. I can't remember. Maybe they beat Man United or something. Something happened. He got hailed as a tactical genius. And the guy that we should replace David Moyes with. This guy. Why can't Moyes be as tactically adept and as sharp as Hasenhüttl? I remember it.
It's probably when they beat us in the FA Cup.
Might well have been. But I think they just had a good result in and around. And I think they were in one of their streaky points. And so he can go a few games and look really good. But also he can lose 9-0. And more than once, I believe, if I remember correctly. So he's really streaky, and Pardew was like that as well. Pardew had got this brilliant winning streak, gets a 10-year contract, I think it was something like that, from Newcastle, and then goes on a massive losing streak. This is just what he's like, and some managers are like that. I don't think he's absolutely useless, and I also don't think he's a tactical genius. You know, I don't think he was basically people were saying, oh, you know, he's a bit like Klopp, isn't he? No, he's not. You know, they're two different qualities of manager, basically. So I don't know. It depends who they think they can get in that will do a better job than him. Clearly, they think that there is somebody there. There probably is. But I don't think he's as good or as terrible as some people make out. I just think he's a bang average manager.
I used to really rate him. I still do to some extent. I think he's perhaps no longer the right man for Southampton because they are going in a different direction now, which is let's invest in young, inexperienced players, build them up and sell them on. That's a different model to the model that he joined when Southampton was there. And I remember during COVID when we heard about how he's revamping this training structure at the club from top to bottom, like the youth team through to the first team, they play in the same way, they get coached in the same way so that the progression is effortlessly there. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a risk, but it's also good to see a Premier League club backing their manager. But now, since they've got taken over in January, they're going in a different direction now. And the managers they're being linked to currently to replace him are managers with connections to Leipzig and Salzburg, which is absolutely no surprise given the model of the club that they want to go down. I think they've just gone and bought a Turkish club. I think the owners of Southampton, I think they just purchased a Turkish club a couple of months ago. Don't know which one, can't recall. But they want this multi-club system. It's what Chelsea want to do now. Chelsea want a multi-club system. And it takes a completely different structure compared to what is a traditional Premier League club. And it's a different one to what Hasenhüttl used to working under. Listen, at the end of the day, they're not playing well at the minute. They've got, 4 points from 9 games, 17th in the league, can't score a goal, they kept no clean sheets this season. Ward-Prowse has been sacrificed massively because of the injuries that they've got. It's not a good place to be in. I think if I was a Southampton fan, I think I'd probably be wanting to see him dismissed, actually, and get somebody in that can work with the younger players that they've got, that is a manager for this culture and ethos that they've now got at the club. I'm not sure Hasenhüttl is that man, but time will tell, I suppose. Very, very quickly, Gonzo. Last question. Well, not last question, second last question. Will they go down?
Yeah, probably.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, you know, for some time I have.
Yeah, that's why I asked you because I know that you think a big club will go down,
and they are. I would class them as a big club. Look, let's be fair. Manchester United are not going to go down, and neither are Liverpool. So I'm not talking that sort of big club.
No.
An established, well-run Premier League club. I thought it might have been Leicester. Not so sure anymore. They've got some form players in there. We'll talk about without it turning into a Leicester show. Everton. Well, I think Everton actually beat Southampton relatively recently.
They'll be. I think Everton will be okay because defensively, I think they are quite good. They are.
Yeah, and so basically, out of my 4, which were obviously Everton, Leicester, Villa, and Southampton, 2 of them are sort of I don't really consider them. So I mean, I do think that there's a excuse me. I do think there's a chance of that. I also believe that Aston Villa will also change their manager. But I'll probably have the capacity to spend their way out of it. And not just that, you sort of look at Aston Villa and you think, well, someone, whoever the new manager is, will come in and get Ings, which would be painful for Southampton, and Watkins scoring, and Ramsey supplying, and Coutinho supplying. You look at the component parts of Aston Villa and think that it's probably easier job for a manager to come in and get them moving up the league quickly. The trouble is when you have a project, you want to get in a project manager that may well not be the best manager for the job of getting you out of a relegation zone this season, although it might be the best manager for the job in the long term. In many respects, what Southampton, if they lose Hasenhüttl, would probably need to do, this ain't going to happen, is hire Sean Dyche, then get to the end of the season, sack Sean Dyche, and then get a project manager in. I just think that there's so many ifs and buts. I think Southampton could well go down.
It's possible, I guess. It's difficult to say. I know I'm asking you for a prediction early on the season, but I think the likes of Villa and that are in the conversation too. I actually think they'll be okay because we're going to get on to players you admire in just a second. And there's a lot of players I admire that club. There's some good football players at Southampton right now. And I think the right manager would get them playing, not only getting results, but also playing some good football too. They're lacking that goal scorer. They are lacking a striker. But defensively, they've got good individual defenders at that team. They've got good midfielders there. They've got a good keeper there. They're lacking the scorer, but you can rectify that in the January transfer window. If they can get through to the World Cup, keeping their heads above water and not losing ground on anybody, and then they can rectify it in January. And there's a couple of goal scorers in the Championship, for example, but they've now got this model, and Shields is still currently there. I think I'd be saying to him, before you go to Stamford Bridge, can you just give us a striker? Tell us who to go get, because no offense, Shields, mate, but Chelsea are going to be aiming a little bit higher than Southampton. So you must have somebody out there that we can go get. Go get that striker so we can get it signed off before you head off to Stamford Bridge, will you? Now, before we get on to the players we admire from Southampton, speaking of good players, I've got some good players in my Spitch team this week. Now, Spitch are sponsoring this video. I thumped Gonzo last week. It's now 4-3 Gonzo. So I'm taking my arrogance and my form and confidence, and I've signed up to the pay-to-play version of Spitch this week. It costs £1.70 to play the classic Premier League game. You pick your team for this weekend only. Top prize at the minute is £50. However, it goes down to 13 places. There's only 39 entries, and 13th gets paid out at the minute. So as long as I finish in the top third, I make a profit. Would you like to see my team, Gonzo?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
In goal, I've got Hugo Lloris. My back 3, I've got Koulibaly, Cancelo and Kilman. My midfield 4, I've got Bruno, Maddison, Foden and Mount. And my front 3, I've got Solanke, I've got Skamaka, and I've got Haaland.
Well, that's a very impressive team, and worth making a point. You can pick such a team in normal fantasy Premier League, but you can on a Spitch app because it allows you to overspend with a whole team of fantastic players and Dominic Solanke.
He'll score this week. I promise you, Solanke is scoring this weekend. If you want to get involved, you can download the Spitch app via the link in the description. While you're there, make sure you also check out the Hammers Chat League. Got over 300 of you competing. You don't have to pay to compete in Hammers Chat League. Go head to head with each other as well as myself and Gonzo. See if you can beat us. And next week, whoever wins the Hammers Chat League, we will make a little graphic and we're going to give them a nice big shout out on the video. So if you want a little bit of ego massaging from myself and Gonzo next week, get involved. Spitch app download below. 18 plus. It is a gambling app. Like I said, I've put down a £1.70 stake this week to play the game. £50 for the top prize. I want 50 quid. I want my 50 quid, Gonzo. And if I do win it, I'm going to give it to somebody. I'm going to give it to a subscriber.
Me?
No, not you. One of the subscribers. Not Southampton either, because their transfer business is looking quite good. But any players you admire from the Saints?
Yeah, I like the sense of what's his name?
Bella-Kotchap.
Yeah, Ketchup. Yeah, we like him.
Salisu.
like Salisu.
See, that's my point, though.
Yeah,
that is one of the best centre-back partnerships in the league. Obviously, take away like Man City, for example.
Yeah.
But that centre-back partnership is fantastic.
Yeah, I like that. I like Walker Peters as well. I think he's a good player as well. That being said, when I have seen them play this season, they weren't playing Salisu and Ketchup. They played Saletazar next to Ketchup, and had a midfield pairing of, I believe it was Ward-Prowse and Maitland-Niles, but that ain't going to cut it. You know, that's not going to do it.
They do have an injury, though. They do have a big injury in there.
Well, fair enough, but it's regardless of whether there's injury or not, that's not going to cut it. Che Adams started the season scoring really well, but he doesn't want to be there, which is another one of those problems. He wants out. He basically said he wants out as publicly as you can without handing in a transfer request. So even it seems his goals have dried up by and large, really. They do have some good players, but I do think their problems are at the moment bigger. They are superseding the ability of those players, and you got to pick those players. As I say, the one I saw, I looked at it. Salisu wasn't even playing.
Well, it's all about sort of Lavia at Southampton at the minute, isn't it? 18-year-old that they signed from Manchester City, played a couple of games, and Chelsea bid 50 million for him. He only played about 2 games, but that number 6 role in there sort of allowed Ward-Prowse to do what he wants to do. He's injured, hamstring injury, which means Ward-Prowse has had to drop back a little bit, be a bit restricted, and now Ward-Prowse has turned crap, without him. And since Latvia's been injured, they've scored 1 goal in 5 games, I think it is. They're really struggling without him. And Ralph's conference after the Man City game said, "Oh, we can't rely on an 18-year-old." Well, you are. Look at your results before and after the injury. You are relying on an 18-year-old in the centre of the pitch. So that's down to you to rectify that. Diallo, I'm not sure he's good enough. Like you said, Maitland-Niles, I wouldn't have minded him at West Ham, but when you're playing him and relying on him, you've got problems. There's good players there. Like I said, Salisu, I think Bella-Kotchap will be one of the best signings of the season. I think come the end of the season, we'll be discussing him a lot more than we are today, general Premier League, that is. I think Walker Peters is a fantastic player too. Livramento, obviously out until next year as well, was a player that looked like the next big thing, injured for a long time, had quite a few injury problems as well. So he's somebody that they need to get better of when he comes back. So there's a lot of good players at Southampton. It just ain't working. It's hard to not look at the manager a little bit and say, well, what are you doing? Why is it not working? So anyway, from Southampton to West Ham. I mean, speaking about injury problems, we've got some of our own Gonzo.
We do, yeah.
I'm going to rattle through what I think is the team news, Gonzo. Correct me if I've missed anything, will you? Because there's quite a bit. So Kehrer is still unlikely to be available for this game. Thilo Kehrer missed Thursday night's game against Anderlecht as he has a little knock, according to David Moyes. Ogbonna went off injured with what seems to be a knee injury. Craig Dawson was subbed off after an impact injury. Looked like to his hip or his right knee as well. Antonio was ill, so we'll have to wait and see if he makes it for Sunday's squad. And Aguerd is a long way off. He's returned to training. He's getting a bit better. Moyes has spoken about how they're going to fast track his return. He's going to play some under-21s games. So that'll be interesting to see. But for now, he's a long, long way away from the first team. That is the team news, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right. I don't think it's as bad as all that. I actually do expect Kehrer and Dawson to both be.
What about Antonio? Him as well?
It's so hard to say with those viruses because he was talking about, you weren't enough to do a podcast. There you go. He said he felt dead. And it's like one of those when you get one of those colds or whatever, they just take your energy away completely. I mean, it's all well and good, going into work and whatever, sitting in a chair if you've got a cold. But if you've got to be tip top and you're a player like Antonio, you can't have that. You can't be 20% down on your energy levels. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost more likely to see. I don't think we are going to see Kehrer. I'm pretty sure Kehrer's fit, but I'd be almost surprised if Dawson isn't given an injection or patched up whatever he does, and we more likely see him than Antonio.
Anyway, right, let's crack on with the team we want to see, not the team that we think we will see. This is what myself and Gonzo would like to see start at the St. Mary's on Sunday afternoon. Gonzo, keep your time. Who would you like to have the gloves?
Areola.
Ooh, I'm still going to stay safe at Fabianski. Still done nothing wrong for me. Not a big conversation though. But moving on to the talking points, which starts in defence. Back four for oneself, or would you take a back three into consideration?
Well, I would consider a back three, but I've considered it and dismissed it. I do prefer the back four as much as the back three worked against Anderlecht. So my back four, the composition of it would be Ben Johnson at right back. It would be Kurt Zuma to play at right centre back, Thilo Kehrer at left centre back, and Aaron Cresswell at left back.
No Dawson.
No, because I actually think I think he's that robust that he would be saying, just give me the injection, patch me up, stick on don't worry about that leg, stick on a cyber leg or something. Do you know what I mean? He would go out there, patched up and rebuilt. But I think, sometimes you just got to say to a player, no, not we're going to give you, it's a long month in October. Well, it's as long as pretty much a lot of other months, October. But particularly because of the fixture congestion, you've got other battles to fight during this month. So I would leave him for this and then just try and manage him and Zuma, almost, swap them over.
I complete the same back four as me, actually. I think Ben Johnson's done enough to impress me in the European games that he's played, and he's just come back from injury. He's been back from injury for a while now. He's got a few games under his belt. It doesn't look like there's any issues there. He looks fresh and fit and ready to rock and roll. And like you said, we've got question marks over all our centre-backs at the minute. Zuma doesn't look 100%. Keller's not 100%. Dawson's not 100%. Ogbonna is probably out for this game and could be out for a few games afterwards as well. So we've got a little bit of an issue at centre-back. And as Gonzo said, we play Liverpool on Wednesday. We have to take that into some sort of consideration. I'm not saying we pick the team for Liverpool and work backwards, but I do think you have to take it into a little bit of a thought process, right? Okay, well, we'll risk one player here, but that player we won't risk. I think it would be foolish, possibly, to play Kehrer right back with Dawson and Zuma centre back, because I think you're almost asking for trouble a little bit, which is you then go to Anfield on Wednesday and you're missing two of your three centre backs because they played on Sunday, picked up an injury. That injuries can happen at any time, but it's up to you as a club, a manager, a medical team to reduce the risk of injury as much as possible. And when you've got three players that are not 100% fit, I think it's too risky to play all three players. So I, like yourself, would rest one of them. And it would be Dawson for me as well, actually, because I think against Liverpool, I think we'll probably be a little bit deeper, a little bit more on their edge of 18-yarder. And I think that game would probably suit Dawson a bit more than the Southampton one with a busy and buzzy Che Adams running around him. So moving into midfield, I mean, Flynn Downs put down another statement performance on Thursday night and said, Gaffer, come on, you can't ignore me anymore. That's three performances now. We gave Benrahma man of match. However, the official man of match was Flynn Downs. So this is three man of match performances now. And I think I'll speak for you here. His performance was man of match worthy on Thursday. We just preferred the one of Benrahma. That's all. Nothing to say here. How would you like to see the midfield mark up? Because as we spoke about last week, this is almost like what we want to see versus what Moyes wants kind of argument, isn't it?
Well, I want to see him in there, and particularly against this team. Southampton are struggling at the moment. And, if he puts out a midfield like that I mentioned earlier, we have to go at them. And actually, I just think a midfield of Flynn Downs and Declan Rice would just be too much. Because Downs gives you everything. He gives you the tackling that Soucek is going to offer. The goal threat, no, but let's be fair. Soucek's got one goal this season. When you look at the composition of the rest of the team, the goals come from elsewhere. That's absolutely fine, I think. But I think what he offers you in terms of his mobility and that snap in the centre of the park, his passing, his first touch, his awareness, the fact that he probably allows Declan Rice to play more than Soucek does. And I think that is the partnership that would get the best out of Paqueta, who clearly is going to play in front of them. That would be my choice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think also the argument for including Soucek, a lot of it relies on his height in set pieces. And Southampton aren't the tallest team in the Premier League. You look at their centre midfield, makeup, which will be Ward-Prowse plus 8 other. I don't know if Aribo's back, who, by the way, I think is a really good player. I think Aribo's a really good signing. Their oldest signing of the transfer window as well, Gonzo, just 26 years old. And it's their oldest signing that they made. But yeah, I would go with Downs and Rice. I think Downs has done enough to demand an opportunity to shine. And this is where you do have to take the Liverpool game. Would you play Downs at Liverpool in his first ever Premier League start? Probably not. It's probably a big occasion. So either you start Rice and Soucek in both games, or you give Downs his opportunity on Sunday. And if he performs well, you consider it for Wednesday night. And if he doesn't perform that well, if he struggles a little bit, fine. Put Soucek back in for the game at Anfield. Rotate the midfield for that one. So I think this game is the perfect game almost to put Downs in there. I think the opposition's right. I think the occasion's right. Coming off the back of 3 really strong performances, you run a little bit of a risk. It's unlikely that if we did play Downs against Silkeborg in a couple of weeks' time, and let's just say he has a bang average game. It's unlikely, but let's just say he plays average at best.
Yeah.
It's hard to then put him in the next Premier League game because you're putting him in off the back of a poor performance. I think it's important you put Flynn Downs in when he's had 3 strong performances now. He's on cloud 9, he's buzzing, he's feeling confident. Get him in the team now when his confidence is sky high. I think we're going to have the same 11 here, so I agree with you. Paqueta in the number 10 role.
Yeah.
Bowen on the right.
Yes. Benrahma on the left.
Benrahma on the left.
And Scamacca up top. I think it's a good team, and you take it and you attack Southampton, and you make Southampton look at that, particularly that front. So the front 4 is strong, if you want to call it a front 4. That central midfield is incredibly strong. Okay, the back line's a little bit patched up, but there's still good. Come on, got still
not that patched up. It's our first choice. First choice
international
left back.
defenders. Yeah, 2 international defenders at centre back. Cresswell was having really enjoying a good season, and I thought Johnson played well midweek. So, you look at that team, and I do think that team probably has Southampton thinking, okay, we need to make a couple of provisions here, because let them worry about Scamacca, who's 6'5". Let them worry about detailing someone to pick up Paqueta. If they're only going to play 2 in central midfield, for instance,
which they will, they always do,
then they're going to have a problem, because actually you're going to find that Downs and Rice are going to occupy those 2, in which case what's going to happen with Paqueta? Then maybe one of the centre backs has to, drop out of that back line and come and deal with him. If that's the case, then they do have problems. You've got Scamacca there, and you're going to have Bowen running into the hole that the centre back has vacated. So I think it's a juicy team.
We are a team in form. There's no getting away from that. Results wise, we are banging form. I'll give you the numbers in just a second. But that team, forget our goalkeeper, the 10 outfielders we agree on, that is 10 players in form. Ben Johnson playing well, Dawson or Kehrer both playing. I think Kehrer's average right back, but centre back being perfect.
Yeah.
Zuma's playing well. Cresswell's his best 2 performances this season so far have come in the last 2. Rice is playing well. Downs is playing fantastic. Bowen scoring in his last 3. Paqueta's really started to settle in and show what he can do. Benrahma coming off the back of that performance against Anderlecht, getting a goal. Scamacca's banging in goals for fun, really. That is a serious team in form. Exactly what Southampton isn't. Southampton are bang out of form. Their players are struggling a bit. This is an opportunity now to get multiple points. Gonzo, if we win, that'll be 3 wins from 3 in the Premier League since international break. It will be 7 wins from 8 in our last 8 games, going back to before the international break as well. 7 wins from 8. Now, 4 of them were Europa Conference League, okay, for a little bit of context. If we win on Sunday, like I said, that will be 7 from 8, 9 points from 9 since international break. Would you be willing to suggest that we have turned the corner, or is there still a little bit of work to do?
I think there's still work to do, and that's great. This is the thing. I think there's still going to be improvements to be made because we've signed these players, and that would be great if we could win all of those games and have such good form, but then still look at it and say, well, hold on a second, we still got our record defender to come back into the team and provide something else in there. We've still got Cornet to come back, who offers a different dynamic to that attacking front 3 or whatever you want to call it, and allows us to change formation again. Turned a corner, but turned a corner with with more improvements to come, which I think could be really exciting. But we do have to win this game. That's I know if some buts and whatnot, you have to put this Southampton team to the sword for all the reasons that we said before. And then you do that, and then you look back and you think, because we started talking about this 4 games ago, and this was the last of the 4 games. This was really important to win those 2 league games, to win those 2 European games. Think, okay. And obviously then you can go back to the Wolves game as well. You think, okay, that's a really good chunk, because that enables you then to go into the Liverpool game, which won't be easy because they look like they might be turning a corner themselves. Klopp is having a chop and a change in formation. Well, you say that. Darwin Núñez has come back, and I think that's changed the dynamic. Firmino looks like he starts coming back into a little bit of form, and the Trent injury might have done them a bit of a favour. So, there's other, but I think it's still enough. If our form is good, that Liverpool might think, look at West Ham and actually think, we could do without playing them. That's the wrong team to be playing at the wrong time, Yeah,
they will look forward to it because they're probably going to get a hiding on Sunday against Man City beforehand as well.
Yeah, they won't look forward to it, and that's why I say. But it's important that we go into there with our heads held high and actually think, well, hold on a second, let's take our players and give them some. But anyway, back to Southampton. It's really important that we do it, obviously.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have to win this one. There has been mitigation for all of our wins. 6 out of the last 7 we've won, but there's always a but provided by people. Wolves, but they were shockingly poor, which they were, fine. Fulham, yeah, but VAR, handballs, etc. Yeah, okay, but you can't dismiss 6 wins out of 7, I think. Have the performances been fantastic? No. Has the football been champagne football? No. But we weren't in a situation where we could try doing that stuff. We had to get points on the board, get up the table, and worry about that stuff later on. And this was sort of not quite the last game for me, but this is not make or break it. But it's a big game in the sense that let's see how much we have come on then. But the problem is, if we beat Southampton, there'll be another but offered up, which is, but Southampton are crap, the manager's crap, they've got no centre midfielder, blah, blah, blah. There's only so many of them you can offer up. If in fact, I could offer that up for the games that we've lost, which is West Ham got beat. Yeah, but Aguero's missing. I could say that for every single defeat so far this season. So it's sort of like, it's difficult, and you can only assess each game one by one. 3 points on this one, go to Anfield, and that's when I want to see a change from Moyes, which is fearless. I want to go there looking for the win. And then we can start to really sort of judge us a bit and say, right, come on then. We're now mid-table, got a bit of breathing space. Let's start playing a little bit better football on the eye, please, because it hasn't always been the best. While we've been picking up the points, it has been a little bit sort of boring or tough to watch at times and grinding out the victories, which, like I said, I accept and completely understand. And the same goes for this one, by the way. Sunday, it's all about 3 points. I'm not that bothered about how we play. Obviously, I would prefer us to be swashbuckling, attacking football, Gonzo. Lots of velocity down the sides. I would love to see a little bit of that.
You're talking my kind of language now, mate.
But 3 points is the most important thing. And are you confident we're going to get 3 points? Because I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit nervous. And the reason I'm a bit nervous is because I know Fornals is going to play left wing.
Yeah.
And I know Soucek will play centre or midfield with Dick Rice. Yes. And I'm a little bit nervous as to what he's going to do defensively, because part of me is actually a little bit worried that we're going to see 3 at the back to counteract the centre-back situation. We might see Cresswell there with Emerson left wing back, and SOUWHU then comes in at right wing back. And that's why I'm a bit worried about Moyes' team selection, which, like I said, I've just spoken about the recent results. I probably shouldn't be, but I am. I'm a bit worried that we are going to see possibly 3 at the back, SOUWHU, Soucek and Fornals in the team. And therefore, I think it becomes a bit of a leveler for Southampton, if you like, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that I think he'll play those 2 players. I also think he's a really good likelihood that he'll play 3 at the back. That being said, I still think if Southampton played at midfield, we dominate their midfield. And I think it becomes even more difficult for them to score. And I do think we got goals in us as well. So I'm not worried about it at all. And it's nice to feel that way, because it's been, quite a negative start to the season. When I've, almost was the points in the season, I've sort of just going in dreading that we'd lose every game. So no, I think there's more of a spring in the step actually around the club. It's hard to read into, you know, what are propaganda pieces by the club in terms of their YouTube offerings. I don't blame them for doing that. It's all got to be very happy and all the rest of it. However, so I try not to read too much into it, but it does seem to be a happier place. It does seem to be more of a buzz on the training ground. And when I say that, when propaganda, they're always going to offer their best side on the club website, on the club YouTube channel. They're always going to offer up a very, very happy projection of what's going on at the club here. That being said, when I look at it, there seems to be a little bit more camaraderie. There seems to be a little bit more laughing, a little bit more joking. Players are settling into their roles. Skamaka looks more settled. Flynn Downs looks a hell of a lot more settled. Paqueta, players are coming back. You're seeing little clips of, you know, of players who are coming back from injury, jogging around on the grass, so to speak. So it just seems like a happier place, Geo. I am quite confident about it.
I've got your score prediction on my bit of paper here.
Good, thank you. Cheers.
I think.
No need. No need to ask.
Right, and before we do our final words and score prediction, please do subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat YouTube channel. It's free. Everything you need for match day is on this channel. The preview, the build-up show, the watch show, and the review. Everything is here. And tomorrow morning, there's a video with a Southampton fan to get his perspective of the game on Sunday. So, Gonzo, any final words from yourself and your score prediction, please?
Yeah, I know David Moyes or any of the players need telling how important this game is. They know it. And just to go back on what you said about you can make excuses, you can make ifs or buts for everything. Oh, it was only Wolves and they lost their manager. It was only Fulham. It was only that. Do you know what? Let that continue, because I tell you what, if we beat Southampton, we'll be pretty much saying, oh, ifs and buts, and people can make all the excuses they want, but we'll be in the top half of the Premier League and we'll be in possibly the last 16.
I actually quite like it, you know, when people say, yeah, but they're the worst team in the league at the minute. I think, well, good. I'm glad we're winning these games then, because we never used to.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, thank goodness we're drawing them when they're at their worst. And you know, last 16 in Europe as well. People can say ifs and buts and all the rest of it and make their excuses. But as West Ham fans, we can hopefully just enjoy a little upturn in the season. My prediction and your bit of paper there will of course say a very, very very lovely 3-1.
Oh, I thought I went 3-0.
Oh, okay.
I thought you. I'm surprised. How can you go for Southampton to score a goal? They can't.
No, I actually don't think they'll score a goal. But I was just trying to make us look like
what's
we were.
What's your real score prediction?
I think we'll win 2-0.
I'm confident as well. Actually, everything I've just said. While I'm a bit worried about Moyes' team selection, that stands valid, and that's why I'm predicting a narrow win rather than a comfortable win. Because regardless of what team puts out, I expect us to win this game. Part of it is because of us, and part of it is because of Southampton. We have got, I say fortunate, you need this luck in your season. You need to get a little bit lucky, play the right team at the right time, and benefit from that. There is no harm in that. Every single team does it. You sometimes see a team's route to the FA Cup final, and you look at it and think, hang on a minute, they didn't even play a Premier League Cup till the quarter final. You know, the first 2 or 3 rounds, it was League 1 and League 2. It's luck. You need a little bit of luck along the way. We did play Wolves at the right time. We won. We did play Fulham at the right time. We won. We are playing Southampton at the right time. And I find it difficult to see any other outcome other than a win. I'm not quite as confident as Gonzo, so I'm going to say Southampton 0, West Ham 1 for this game. But if you've enjoyed this preview, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up button underneath this video. It's free. Subscribe to the channel, also free. We'll be back on Sunday at 12:55 with our build-up show, also free. We'll catch you then.